Hi, this is Ira Brick, and I welcome you to the Western Mass Business Show. We are in a new phase of this show. I'm so glad to say that our half-hour show is now an hour, so we have grown. And I changed the model of it a little bit to accommodate more time, so I have panels of people now discussing each who they are and what they do, but also some topic of their mutual interest that they can overlap and guide us around. So I'm so pleased to have today Leslie Carrier, Nini Melvin, and Michelle Huber. So nice to have you all here.
Thank you, Ira.
So let's just start by saying that the theme that we're all going to try to discover together is practicing self-care. And, you know, you might be a person for whom those words make complete sense and you know all about it, or it might be new to you, but we hope you'll all learn something today. So let's just start off with Michelle to just identify yourself. What do you do? How do you bring self-care to people? What is your organization, and so on?
Great, thank you, Ira. So I am a Feldenkrais practitioner and circling facilitator, and my organization is called Embodied Awareness Practices. So that brings together both of these practices because they're both about living into the present moment through awareness and through sensation and feeling and living inside the body and using the body as a tool to understand your well-being, as a tool to influence your health. And I'm noticing right now as I'm speaking, I want to use some of my skills that I try to practice of like, okay, can I slow down? Can I feel myself as I'm speaking? I notice my heart is moving quickly and my voice is kind of dry. So it's like, these are some of the skills that by noticing what's happening in my body, I actually have a sense of like, oh, I might be nervous right now. Let me slow down. What's happening? Mm-hmm. So that's part of what we're doing in circling and Feldenkrais. Circling is more of an interpersonal practice. So we do it with in a group of people. And Feldenkrais is more of a embodied experience, like a movement class.
Okay. And so, you know, I think we're going to hear some repeated themes, even though the three of you do all different things, but certainly awareness of something is what all three of you bring. Mm-hmm. We're going to dig in a little bit more with your stuff, Michelle, but let's go to Nini now.
Hi, I'm Nini Melvin, and I have a studio called Meridians, Pathways to the Heart. Here we practice shiatsu, which is a Japanese healing art. It's my 40th year practicing shiatsu. And I've been training practitioners locally and internationally and teachers as well. And the way that I teach this work is very embodied. So the meridians are not something that are only on a chart that you learn from a chart. They're really inside the body moving. And the way that we look at the meridians in my school is to see how the meridians are basically made of nature. So the practice is about feeling your nature, your human nature, and how your nature is made of the natural world. So we practice a lot about integrating our inner water with our outer water, our inner fire with our outer fire. I've really gotten in touch with, since this pandemic, this sense that there's so much panic, there's so many questions, and I really truly believe that nature is the answer to a lot of our challenges. And embodying nature helps us find balance and health and well-being in our lives.
Okay, that's great. So before I move to Leslie, who I think is not a body worker unless you count feeding a body as work. I never considered feeding my body as work, unfortunately. But I'm noticing the two of you use the words embody, you know, like whether somebody knows they're embodying things or not, they still have a body. And awareness and integration and all of those things might be the vocabulary of what you would consider progressive thinkers about healthcare, but every single person on the planet, whether they are aware of those concepts or not, is still in the same kind of body that you're describing. So we'll get more to that. So Leslie, how do you fit into this? And this new theme is like person A brings person B and person C. And so you're the person that put this together, invited your colleagues, etc. So discuss.
Well, I'm Leslie Carrier, also known as the Organic Gourmet. And for me, I'm embodying the delicious organic lifestyle. When I'm cooking for people as a personal chef, I'm also an author. I also, before COVID, hosted a gourmet getaway where people could come into my passive solar natural home and get a taste of what I've gleaned from over 30 years of natural living. So what I'm trying to embody is almost like a delicious state of mind while I'm cooking or while I'm teaching somebody to cook. And I will out myself as well, and that one of my greatest achievements of self-care is Michelle Huber is my daughter.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Keeping secrets.
Yes. So the other thing is I do have a master's degree in movement sciences and education. And at some point, I always loved to cook. And I turned my attention to using body, mind centering, improvisational movement terms to creating recipes. So I've come from being an athlete, dancer, to feeding myself healthy food for pleasure and vitality.
Okay, that's great. So this show is 4 segments. There's little breaks in between, so we will continue to have a conversation, but I do need to stop and start at certain points. So in the 3 or 4 minutes we have, whoever wants to jump in on this, I think this is a relevant question. You're all talking about taking care of yourself or others, so being careful as opposed to careless. And then I just want to throw in there, I guess, being mindful instead of mindless. I had always heard that being mindless was a good thing, but if it's the opposite of mindful. So just what is care to you? Self-care or caring for others? Just how do you see the word and the concept of caring? Anybody?
Well, for me as a chef and an eater, self-care begins with the foods that I choose to eat, the foods that I cook for myself and my family and my clients. And so I'm also thinking about care in terms of honoring all the hands of love that harvest the food. So I'm thinking globally of whenever I'm eating local, seasonal, organic, fair trade, like where is my food coming from? Did I grow it? Did I harvest it? Did I cook it with love in my heart? So those are kind of the self-care along with food that I love to embody.
So either of you, Nini or Michelle, how would you build on that?
I can go, okay?
Yes.
I'm just looking at Michelle. Okay. For me, care is very, very basic. It's about having respect and reverence for life. And I'm afraid that we have lost some sense of that. And we have had a lot of destructive and taking advantage and carelessness around our planet and our human lives. So for me, care is really about recognizing that we're all made up of the same ingredients and that we have to take care of those ingredients. We have to take care of the waters and we have to take care of the earth. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of each other by embracing that we're all made out of the same ingredients. We have to take care of those elements within us and also in the natural world.
I just want to change the question a little bit for Michelle, which is to say, whenever you hear about just animals that are not humans, and I'm listening to the fascinating book now, Sapiens, that we are not the wise, we are not the sapient beings, but other creatures just go about their business and don't wreck the place. What is it about human beings that we are so careless and really self-destructive?
A big question.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only offer my perspective on it. I think there's something about becoming, I mean, like Nini saying, being detached from nature and being detached from community and like family bond, that we have these like vacant holes that we go through the world trying to fill through consumerism and capitalism and buying more things and being busy and proving our worth. That's like a big piece that I think humans are grappling with a lot of the time, trying to prove our worth. And in that way, like overachieving, overdoing all of the time. And I'm not sure, I mean, our brains are quite complex. And so we also are always looking for more stimulation and more complexity where, as I think a lot of animals, I'm not a specialist at all about animals, but they're mostly focused on survival. And a lot of us are able to move beyond survival in a certain way. And so then we have all this extra energy to put towards what? What do we want to fill our life with? And then there's all of this technology that is designed to distract us and to pull our attention. And so that also moves us away from self-care and towards destruction as we're trying to meet these inner deep needs through superficial options.
It almost feels like you're saying we're too smart for our own good.
Yeah,
we have the ability to take care of ourselves and get ourselves into trouble.
Yeah, well, it's like we're trained in certain avenues of intellect, right? So like how our schools are designed support us in developing certain parts of ourselves, but it doesn't support us in developing other parts of ourselves, like deep listening or deep care or slowing down or being honest about our capacities. Like those things are not supported by our school systems and how we're conditioned for our whole lives.
So I would just add that one other term of trying to find balance where we're off balance. Okay, yeah. So that is the first of our 4 segments. We are going to go to a couple of words from our supporters, and we'll be back in a minute on the Western Mass Business Show. Okay, we're back. This is Ira Brick, and I'm here with Leslie Carrier and Michelle Huber, who apparently is Leslie's daughter, and Nini Melvin, who is a Homo sapien. So let me just ask you, how do you market this? You know, any kind of marketing is finding the person's problem and then offering a solution at a fair value. So just let's talk about the business side of this a little bit. How do you sell the idea of people being more mindful and careful? Any of you?
Well, I would say that I'm not particularly a salesperson.
That's Nini speaking. Keep going. Okay.
Thank you. For me, the only way that I can bring myself into the world to attract students or clients is to be more from my heart, to generate love, to embrace people, embrace life in all kinds of ways, no matter what someone's going through or no matter how, quote, accomplished they are or stressed out they are or disturbed they are. That all of life is an expression of life. And so for me, what is the essence of my work is to bring more heart to everything and to trust that the light is what people, the warmth, the light, the love is what people are looking for and need. And finding balance, you mentioned the word balance. For me, we see the world in such a troubled state in so many ways, and the humans want to find something, some way to be okay inside themselves, no matter what is going on. And so this way to find balance, looking for balance, for me starts with the heart. So my way of attracting business is to love more and to come to my heart more.
So that you would attract, you yourself sound like you'd be the bait then that somebody in need would detect you might have something for them.
I wouldn't call myself bait, but I'm not a fisher, so maybe that's. But
Or an example, let's say.
I think that what we're all looking for is to be more authentic and more connected to our own hearts and more true to ourselves. So my journey is very much about being myself. I don't try to be more than me or different than me. I'm just myself. And I think people are looking for a way to strip away all that superficiality that Michelle was speaking about, all that busyness that is just stressing us out. And people are looking for a simpler way of being. And one way, simpler way, is to be more authentic and to let go of the stuff that's not important anymore.
So thank you. Let me ask then Leslie a question is, I found a lot of business owners are kind of proud, weirdly proud to be crazy busy. I mean, they don't realize that they're saying that they're crazy along with being busy, but you, all of the three of you, but you are selling a way that they might see as pampering themselves. You know, taking care of myself is taking a break from being busy, which I should be. So how do you communicate to them of like crazy busy is not a good goal?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's by just being myself. I think when I think about marketing, I'm always on and I'm always off. So like I'm always embodying, like I'm always going to parties and bringing great food. I'm not always thinking about selling cooking classes. It's just what I do. I want to cook from my heart and I want to feed people. Indirectly, sometimes people become clients from that, or they come to my cooking classes, or they spread the word. Crazy busy is again, as Michelle and Nini have been talking about, is about the balance of life, and sometimes real self-care for me is to stop comparing myself to other like TV chefs or other chefs that have bigger profile, and to understand that what I'm doing here by having this huge garden and getting a great workout, I laughingly say I have my own gym out there because organic gardening is a lot of digging and moving things, and I could be crazy busy over exercising out there. So I'm still human and making some mistakes in that way, finding balance. But it's like I always think, I think I've always been this way, is I think of achievement as my whole life. So every day I want to do something really fun. And if I do that every day, I feel like I've accomplished something good. I've eaten good food. I've been kind to my friends. I've had fun conversations while I'm outside, on the phone these days with COVID rather than being in person. So for me, marketing is somewhat like Nini, having, trying to attract by being it. And also, I mean, I have a website. I work really hard at the search engine optimization so people find me. Sometimes I don't know how they find me. They just do a search and they find me. Years ago, when I started teaching over 30 years ago, I made these flyers before the internet was the way, and made them in mustard colored and advertised a series of cooking classes and postering them all over the place. And people would tell me they save a flyer for 3 years and then finally hired me to do some personal chef work. So I think I'm balancing the not knowing with trying to do everything that I know I can do. And then also understanding I'm only one person wearing too many hats, and
Okay.
finding balance is the way.
That's good. Okay, thank you. So next question for Michelle. So I don't know a ton about Feldenkrais, but I know that, Moshe Feldenkrais basically said, move different than you're moving so that your body will be more in touch and in less pain. And I'm sure you could describe that much more elegantly, but you basically are saying to people, you need to do things differently than you think you do so that you won't feel crummy. Like, How do you manage to sell that idea? I don't want to move differently than I've been moving for 67 years.
Yeah, thank you. I wouldn't say that we're saying you need to move differently than how you're moving. In this method, it's all about knowing what you're doing. He has a thing, he says, know what you do, you can do what you want. So it's about becoming aware of your habits, and then you can make a choice. Like, do I like this habit? Do I want this habit? Is this the easiest, most efficient habit? Or am I facing a lot of tension and resistance in this habit pattern? And some of that's happening unconsciously when we do the practice by just feeling and sensing our habits and our movements. But that, our whole life is through our bodies. So when we make changes in those habits, it ripples out into our lives. So we get to make more choice and be stronger agents in our life. And I think that comes back to this question about like being crazy busy. I don't think any of us would tell people like, you shouldn't be crazy busy. It's just like, is that what you want? Is this the choice that you'd like to make? And just being actually choosing and being aware of what choices you're making and how you are creating your life.
Well, I know one lesson I'm learning during COVID, my parents were both very ambitious, efficient people. And I realized that I was not allowed to nap growing up. Now that I'm on a lot less structure, it's like I can futz when I want, I can nap when I want. These were no-nos for me.
Right.
If you finished your homework, clean your room, and then after you clean your room, whatever. So,
right.
So Nini, like you are also mentioning, you do shiatsu, which involves meridian, to use that term, which are basically like little energy pathways through your body, if that's what acupuncture is aiming at, and shiatsu is kind of like acupressure. So people are in pain. They might come to you because they're in pain or discomfort. I think a lot of politics goes by the wayside. It's like, if you can fix me, I don't care what you're doing, I'll go along with. Anyway, the question is, how do you teach people a different way to deal with their pain and discomfort when they grew up in a society where you just, take a pain pill or ice it or, whatever?
That's a really good question. For me, pain is a message. It's an opening, a potential opening to something that needs attention. So for me, if somebody comes, for example, with pain in their shoulder, and they're saying, can you make this pain in my shoulder go away? I'm curious about why that pain is in their shoulder. Like maybe it's from tension. Maybe it's that they want to punch somebody and they're holding back, or maybe they did punch somebody and they feel bad. Whatever led to this moment is relevant to the healing. It's not that this moment is separate from the past, and now in this moment, we're going to just make it go away. So hopefully, with people's willingness, we enter a journey of unraveling the healing process. And pain is really a great messenger. Pain helps us to listen. It takes us inside something that we're probably not paying attention to. If it doesn't hurt enough, you might not pay attention to it. So the pain is a calling. It's a calling to be led to something that needs to be healed. So it's a deeper journey than just getting rid of the pain.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much. So we're going to take another little break for our sponsors, and we'll be back on the Western Mass Business Show right after this. Okay, we're back. This is Ira Brick, and I'm here with my three guests, Leslie Carrier and Michelle Huber and Nini Melvin. And so I just want to ask this is, it seems like you all practice in Pioneer Valley, which is, part of the bluest section of the bluest state. And you practice something with just doing my little bit of research. I'm as cynical as the rest of them, and I'm also a believer, but under Feldenkrais in Wikipedia, it does say it doesn't do any harm, but it's not proven to have any measurable, same as shiatsu. It's been around for thousands of years. I'm a fan, but, it's not provable. you have a vaccine, it's like 95% effective, so how do you convince people that this thing that might be harder to measure is where they should spend their time and energy and money? Any of you?
Hmm.
Including Leslie. I don't think it's
Yeah.
measurable that eating delicious food organically grown is going to make you a happier person, but maybe it will. Who knows?
Well, I know I'll answer that because I also teach dietitians and nutritionists, and I teach a lot of lay people. And in terms of the Pioneer Valley, I mean, I've traveled around the world training chefs and taught all over the country. And in terms of all the science, the balance, um, I've always gone like, when you take a piece of food and you put it in your mouth, your body immediately tells you yes or no. And it's that slow down that Nini and Michelle are talking about that applies to your inner nutritionist. So I know there's tons of science, it's got this much grams of protein and this much carbohydrates, it's got calcium and iron. And I know a lot of those statistics about food, but how do we figure out what's right for us? Again, comes from slowing down, taking a moment, being present, and seeing where your big yes is. And I'll let Michelle and Nini address theirs, although I've experienced both their work, and you could call it magic, but I mean, every time I have a treatment with either Michelle or Nini, I feel taller, and I am taller, and things get released, and I feel better. And that's my measurement.
Great. Okay. So either Michelle or Nini, an answer to that, or you want another question?
I'm fine to answer that one.
Okay, good.
I think it depends on people's mindset, what they believe or don't believe. And very often it's easier to take that pill and get rid of the pain than it is to go into the pain and figure out what really is going on a deeper level. So as far as proving it or not proving it, I would say that the proof is in the experience. If I do minutes of any of these forms that science may not have caught up with yet, I know that transformation is happening, metamorphosis is happening. So, you can hook on to the can it be proven or can it be proven, but the truth is the proof is in the experience.
It's interesting when you say science hasn't caught up with something that's been practiced for thousands of years, and yet modern medicine is like a couple of 100 years old. Okay, so
Science is young compared to these healing arts.
It's also cultural. Like in the US, it's so different than like you get insurance and healthcare, right, through like shiatsu and acupuncture in certain parts of the world.
that's true. I have an objection to paying out of pocket when I pay high insurance premiums.
Right.
But I'm also married to a pain relief therapist, so.
And like in Germany, you can get Feldenkrais with insurance. It's very cultural.
No,
But
definitely
the
public
culture-
policy.
Yeah.
Public policy definitely helps. So how do any of you, let me see, how do you spread the word on a daily basis about what it is that you offer? Any of you?
A lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it is people are searching for something different. Things are not working for the humans. It's not going well here on Earth for humanity. It's not going very well. And so for me, people are looking for more peace, more calm, more healing, more health. People are looking for a different perspective on reality, because reality is actually based on truth. And truth is something that resonates in people's hearts. And so when things don't feel true, people start to look and pivot and search. And so for me, to keep myself in alignment with truth and to be a vessel of truth and to practice that in my day-to-day reality. I mean, I can walk out the door of my studio and see somebody, a neighbor or somebody from the karate studio or whatever, and I'm practicing my alignment and the connection is authentic. And so for me, that's it.
That's great. So I have a question for Leslie. I know that you
Sure.
also do, I guess, impressionist nature photography. I have described it as like your photography seems to have dropped LSD. Um, I remember years ago going to a lecture on Waldorf education, and the guy was saying, when you look at a Raphael, you're healed, but there's other artists, I forgot which, like Andy Warhol or whatever, it's like you're harmed. I don't know if you're harmed, but like, what is it that you feel is healing about somebody looking at your images, for instance?
For instance, there are 20 in my photographing jewels in the water, and I brought out here, this one's called Being in the Flow. And all these pictures are taken out in nature with me almost meditating. And at some point, the light calls me over. So what my photography is, and I haven't dropped LSD taking the pictures, but I do take that as a very big compliment. And other people have said that too. Because I'm actually photographing the refractory patterns of light in shallow streams, which make most amazing, I can't even imagine how I could create it myself, but I mean, Muramoto had a whole science about vibration in water. And so my work is also about the peaceful vibration that I'm feeling when I'm in the forest. And yeah, I mean, I was doing photography before I became a chef, and I've won many awards with that. And part of self-care for me is about living in the light, you know, being outside in nature, being in sunlight, living amongst, because I'm not doing shows right now, but having all this art that's about light. And maybe psychedelics is about bringing more light into yourself and opening up dark places.
Mhm.
I'll
Okay.
have to explore
Good.
that.
No, they are beautiful. People should look at your website for that.
Thank you.
So either Michelle or Nini, do you want to just talk a little bit more about your business for a couple of minutes and then just describe, you know, how it is that you have a unique corner of the world of careful and mindful and so on? Either of you, but both of you.
Sure. So what I'm doing right now is mostly offering classes online, which is actually like a strange gift of this pandemic, that people can do these practices from their home. So for example, tomorrow I'm offering a class on the eyes, and the organization of our eyes actually has a huge influence on our whole musculature. How we organize, because we use our eyes basically to orient in the world. And in January, I'm starting a series all about supporting the freedom of our jaw. A lot of people I know have a lot of tension in the jaw. And again, it has to do with what we're speaking, how we express ourselves. So there's this physical component, and then there's this, how am I in the world? This way that these weave together, and they're inseparable from the body and from ourselves.
Okay. Just
So
to
I
say,
offer, yeah.
that we're taping this in December, but it's airing in January, but people can look at your
Yes.
website. Right?
Yes.
So just say your website while we're on the topic.
Sure. My website is michellehuber.me.
Okay. And you were located where in Western Mass?
In Northampton.
Okay. But online. Okay.
Yeah, so right now I'm teaching online, so people are taking classes from all over, which is really special.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. So we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get back to finding out more about Nini's practice. So this is the Western Mass Business Show. I'm Ira Brick. You can hear all of my past interviews, by the way, at whmp.com. Go to podcast and the Western Mass Business Show. So we'll be back right after this. Okay, we're back. This is Ira Brick and the Western Mass Business Show. I'm here with three guests, with Michelle Huber, who is a Feldenkrais Awareness Through Movement teacher, and also delights in discovery of unconscious patterns of human behavior. We're talking about people's behavior and how they might have less discomfort and, you know, all the bad things if they became more aware of the tension and pain, and how to move and how to eat and how to relax and all of that. And here with Michelle, and also with Nini Melvin, and also with Leslie Carrier. So 3 people talking about self-care. So Nini, can you just tell me about your self-care business? Like, how are you set up actually?
Well, pre-pandemic, I have a school here in Florence, Northampton.
Mm-hmm.
And right now the studio is what I call my book gallery. I'm writing a book about the work that I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on the book here, and I'm teaching all my classes online for now. And the classes that I'm teaching at this moment, and I'll be starting new series in January, which will be on my website as well, which is meridiansshiatsu.com. And my classes right now online, like Michelle, I'm delighted to be able to reach people in all over. People are showing up that I never met, that hear something about it. And I have students from all over. Very convenient to be Zooming instead of having them having to travel. So my classes, I do classes for everyone that teach the meridian system. So the meridians are pathways. They're actually not little, they're actually fairly large pathways that go through the body that move the elements, nature, through the body, that balance the elements, what we're made of through the body. So I teach a basic class for all people who want to learn more about the meridians and the 5 elements, and about how to find more balance in life. So the self-care is about balance. It's about taking where we are, accepting where we're at in this moment, and feeling where the energy is in the body, and kind of evening it out, connecting it with earth and sky, and finding more alignment, more calm, more rootedness, and more spaciousness. And so I also do shiatsu classes. My students are being very patient that they're not able to come and practice on each other, but we're doing what I'm calling shiatsu review. So we're reviewing all the meridians, and we're reviewing all the movements that we do with clients. And we're doing self-shiatsu. So that's open to anybody who's interested in meridians and points and has done some studying.
Uh-huh. So one would imagine that humans are not the only ones that can benefit from this stuff. Are animals just more in tune, shaking it off, or I don't know if they like lick their meridians or whatever?
I mean, like Michelle said before, when you asked about animals, their lives are based on the basic things that you need to survive. And humans, the truth of our existence is that survival is based on the same thing for everyone. It's based on having enough water and food and warmth and the 5 elements, basically. Animals, they have that down. They tell you when they're hungry, they eat, they sleep when they're tired, they have a scary experience, like you said, they shake it off, and they're very good role models to go back to simplicity and to listening on a more basic level.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michelle said, we have brains that get us all preoccupied with all kinds of stuff, and
Right.
I don't think animals do that.
And it's often said that we are not the best at anything. We're not the fastest runners or the strongest. We can outsmart a chimp, but he can tear our head off with no effort. So like, it feels like we have a little bit of aligning to do as the crown of creation.
I would agree.
Yeah. So how do you change the way that somebody lives their daily life? They might want to come and get out of pain, but not commit to eating better or taking more retreats or, just a meditation. I've been meditating since college, and it's like a struggle every day to find an hour to do it. So, I mean, I do it, but it never became a natural thing. I should get extra credit for that. Anybody? How do you really make this your practice?
I think for me, I do it because I love it, and regarding meditation, I don't try to do an hour. I might cook for hours because I love it, but with meditation, I might just set 15 minutes, or I'll have other practices like walking in the woods where my mind is clear or stuff comes up. Self-care for me takes the should out. you know, so I'm eating when I'm hungry. I'm not exactly perfect at that. I certainly, it's a practice of like, am I really full? But that's still so good. I want more. But it's like, I think it's about a loving kindness to oneself, you know, and if that's appealing, then those are the people that I want to work with, people that want to eat good food, support their personal inner environment and the climate and the environment. So whatever way I can help them connect the dots.
So I know that this is a question from Michelle. I know that Leslie's evolution was gradual, and maybe she was not as enlightened when you were a baby, but do you feel like your life was positively affected by having somebody that grows stuff outside and then, you know, cooks it amazingly and all of that?
Definitely. I'm glad you asked me. I was like, you know, so much of my orientation towards living has to do with my mom and how she's taught me to listen to myself, listen to my body. Like in high school, I didn't take any ibuprofen if my ankle hurt, I sat out. And it was like a totally different culture than my other teammates. But I had that orientation to listen to my body, be curious about my body, listen to the messages and the food. I mean, I feel like really blessed and healthy in a way that sometimes I look around and I'm like, wow, I think I just got lucky because my mom fed me amazing food and I lived in the woods and I got enough love and it really set me on a good path.
So you aren't jealous of the kid with the devil dogs across the lunch table?
I was when I was a kid, but I really grew out of it, which was great. And my mom, I think she did a good thing. She just didn't have that stuff in the house. And so I would go to my friends' houses and I would go nuts and then I would feel sick. And then as I got older, I was just not interested. So it was good. She didn't like overly control what I did outside the house. I got to explore.
But then you'd come home and have her Teff brownies.
Exactly. And they were great.
Okay, so in the couple of minutes we have left, why don't you each do just like a little ad for yourself? Not really an ad, but just, again, give your website, your phone number, what you want to say to somebody to, you know, see if they might come and talk to you more. How about Leslie, Michelle, and then Nini?
Well, my website is my name, Leslie, Leslie, C as in chef, ERIER.com. And I would love to help you live a delicious life, just like Michelle said. I mean, I don't want to control anybody. I want to have them make healthy choices by the abundance of what's out there. So if you've got allergies, I love that puzzle of cooking for you because there's so much I can make for you and teach you how to cook. And LESLIECERIER.com. That's the website.
That's great. Okay. And then Michelle and then Nini.
My website is michellehuber.me, and I'm offering Feldenkrais classes to feel more connected, to slow down, to increase your awareness and change your habits. And I also offer, which I didn't talk about too much, is circling practice, which is a practice to feel more connected to yourself, but in a social space. So instead of being in your body, you're actually practicing, how do I speak my truth? When am I hiding? When, like, just noticing your unconscious social habits. So this is really powerful for relationships, for housemates, for yourself living a more authentic life.
That's great. Find out more about that. And Nini.
So I'm Nini Melvin, and my website is Meridians, MERIDIANS, Shiatsu, SHIATSU.com, meridiansshiatsu.com. And yeah, if you feel like you're ready to be more authentic, more in touch with and listening to and living from your heart, if you would like to know how the elements move through your body and discover a movement practice and a universal 5-element language, I love to work with people who have any challenges that they have and put it in a 5-element perspective and bring more balance and more harmony into your life.
That's great. That's great. Thank you all so much. Really a lot to learn from here, and people are interested. They can certainly look you up and find you even on Zoom or whatever. So this is the Western Mass Business Show. I'm Ira Brick, and I hope that you listen to all of my 300 shows at whmp.com. And thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Ira.
Ira.
Yeah, thank you.